So there's a task, and the task is actually how to organize growth and density in a city. It's not a topic that cities themselves have chosen, nor have we, but it's a theme that will otherwise overrun us. It's simply there. You can't respond to that by saying, I might have an idea, but you respond because that is the demand. This takes place to a large extent in cities of the world that aren't necessarily climactically favored. Singapore, for example, doesn't have a particularly pleasant climate. It is rather hot, it's very, very humid, it's close to the sea, there's a lot of salt in the air. So there are already several issues that complicate matters. It's a lot of pressure bearing down on this enclosed, sunken area from a lot of sides, which doesn't exactly make it an ideal location. Yet it is socially favorable, economically favorable. This is where people want to be, obviously, despite all these limitations. And now you ask yourself, what can the architect do now? What is his contribution? And there were 4 large sites we could have built on. And these 4 sites, if you draw a large overview, there was a street planning that looked like this, if you can imagine this. Here are the neighbors, with further construction stages. Here's the green square. And now the question was, what do you do if you know that a lot of building will be taking place here? Because of these aforementioned reasons, but also for reasons of ecological balance of cities, the sustainability performance of cities, we need to build very dense cities. One could maintain you only do that when you succumb to pressure, but that's not true. You also do it voluntarily. Because a dense city is a city which has less traffic, less commuting traffic. And it doesn't have to be just a dense, but also a mixed city. Not just a little bit mixed, but really intensely. That would mean that supply routes, also education, living space, workspace, leisure, are not in different districts, different cities, but that, if possible, you can find all this in the same house, if the house is big enough. We're not talking about a normal house, more like a district than a house, or a village. All this led to the fact that we actually wanted a green oasis in the middle. Then almost everything we did there, so the rising lamella-like structures and this garden around it, they actually serve as sunscreens for the houses, because of course, with a very steep sunlight trajectory and a relatively minimal projecting constructive element, you can avoid a large percentage of the sunshine. And this way, we can ensure that this is not just a pleasant garden to look at. I'll just draw this shape, something like this. When you cut through it, you go in down here, and this is the direction you go through. The streets are paths, but not roads with traffic, but paths. And that also goes round the corner there. And what you see there in the middle, all these lamella and so on, they also have a slightly different purpose. Due to the lateral openings, the air enters into this middle space. And then at the height of the podium around here, there is a 20-meter break, and there's another garden. And here are humidity floors, and via them more air comes in. And then up here, where the technical center is, there is a technical center set back, but around it again there's a garden. And on the roof again, there's a roof garden. And in all these places here, which I mark here and also below, air enters into this interior. And then we had the cheek and conceived the houses so that in a winding manner you go through them like canyons. That means they are completely interrupted. There are only walkways between the canyons. And in this way the floor plan enables the air to pass through everywhere. And we managed to create a kind of flow due to the whole shape of the project, which was optimized a little. So the question arises, where does it all come from? So this is the direction of the bay, and this is the main wind direction. And then we match the main routes through the building to the main wind direction. This ensures that it goes through in this direction, and in the vertical through here. So you can see you can do something that actually in the end looks spectacular, but you may not realize the logic behind it on first sight.
But
the point is not ultimately to build a spectacular house, but to develop a kind of role model, which we can assume will not just be used in Singapore, but can also contribute in other places to the question of how to live in such a dense, mixed, hot, humid, and potentially uncomfortable situation and still remain comfortable.
Potenziell unkomfortablen Situation als Mensch trotzdem komfortabel.